this computer. Okay, hi, Miss Jennings. I hope you're well. I had a wonderful time visiting your classroom. Tell me, how do you think the lesson went?
I think it went really well. I felt like the kids were engaged and learned a lot from the lesson. So I felt good about it.
Yes, I think it was great. I think I appreciated that you had the essential question on the board, and you had them because they're younger kids. It's so important for them to move around. So you had them sitting in their small on the carpet for a little bit, and then they worked on their tables on that hands-on experience. Um, if there is something that if you had to do this lesson again, and if there's something that you could do differently, what do you think that would be?
Um, I felt like once we broke from our group on the carpet and went to work on the experiment, I felt maybe if I had that laid out ahead of time, maybe set up a little bit and maybe clean that up a little bit. I feel better about that. But I feel like the kids really enjoyed it. And because they enjoyed it, I think they'll remember what I was trying to teach for that lesson.
I agree with that. I agree with that. Now, even though I appreciated when I was there, I saw that you had kind of your materials people. One person was passing out the cups, the other one was passing out the rubber bands. I like that part. I think where it got a little bit, challenging was when you were passing out the beads, because some of the kids were ready and some of the kids were not ready. So I think if you had maybe little containers of the beads ready, or little 4 or 5 pieces of the beads ready to pass out, I think it is important for kids to take ownership of their resources. But just so even just with that beads part, that would have been effective. um, I also felt that maybe not that it was a bad thing, because you do want kids to explore and spend some time on the investigation. But I feel like a lot of kids got carried away with making the noises. So maybe if that time was tightened up a little bit, and then kind of guiding them towards answering the questions, because even though we want them to explore, but we don't want them to, or we don't want to give them room to get into behavior problems. Did you notice, or did you feel that was a concern?
I did. When you have that many people trying to do the same experiment at the same time, it does get a little chaotic.
Yes.
And some people and some kids, that's where they lose their focus.
Yes.
Mhm.
And of course, we all know that science is messy and science can be noisy. So we do want that healthy noise level. But just that time management piece, if it could have been like, if and I appreciated that you started conversation about meeting with them in small groups and talking to them about answering those questions, and then also giving them the opportunity, if you're finished, come to the carpet. And I really appreciated that you were jotting down those words um, as they were, because that almost gives them an incentive to hurry up, and just so I can move on to the next topic. So I think that was perfect for your classroom transition and routines and procedures in the classroom. I think you have an excellent culture, because I saw classroom culture, because I saw you talk to them beforehand about how your writing, how your drawing won't be perfect. But then one
Mhm.
of the learners, he gave you a compliment. He said, actually, that's really good. And that just goes to show that you built that culture in the classroom.
Thank you. Yes.
Yes. Okay, so I know that we want to try out a few things. The first thing would be just that management of materials and resources. So if working with science, there's so many materials that you kind of have to pay attention to. And that's really the only place where it can get a little bit chaotic when you're passing out materials. So maybe work in that area. And then really honestly, that is the only feedback that I would have, where if you could tighten that up, then maybe all of those things would follow up. And then maybe when you're having your next oh, what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I definitely agree. And maybe um, some doing some kind of maybe something with them before. Maybe if that wasn't my first lesson,
Hmm.
a little bit before. I don't know.
Okay.
What do you think?
Like a pre-assessment?
Maybe, or some kind of pre-knowledge or pre,
Yeah.
like I showed them the picture and we talked about it, but maybe before you, I don't know, before you start the experiment, maybe we had talked about it before in a different.
Yeah. Like how do eardrums
Yeah,
work?
yeah,
Yeah. And
maybe.
also going on the other side, like, yes, it's a pre-assessment, but then also maybe an extension where you could relate it back to how does this apply to musical instruments?
Oh, yeah,
Because that could connect them to a real world application as well. It's not just about hearing, but then they could make maybe musical instruments that have that same purpose, and maybe even collaborate with the music teacher to see
oh, I
how
love that. I would
those
love to do
instruments
that. Yeah, that's a great idea.
yeah. So let's talk about our timeline. Do
Okay.
you think you want to try out these things and give yourself a timeline of when your next class, do you want to try it out in your next class or next week's class? Is there a timeline that you want to set for yourself?
Yeah, I would like to like I tried to do some hands-on science at least once a week. So I'd like to like by the end of the week
Yeah.
revisit it, I guess, in some way.
Yes. Yes,
If it's
I
with
think
the
that's a
music
great idea.
teacher, yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's a great idea. So we are probably going to, I'd be more than happy to come by again and see how it goes. You're an excellent teacher, and I like that you take
Thank
ownership
you.
of, improving your craft.
Thank you. I appreciate your feedback.
Thank you. I'll see you around then.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks.